We had an interesting segment on Daybreak Interactive talking about giving updates on the situation across different parts of the country. Unfortunately, we were not able to get more calls, but then again, that would find an opportunity to provide for when next we have another program. But then we're snowballing the conversation now into the discussion segment, as we have with us in the studio an expert to provide more details on this development. But meanwhile, the federal government, through the Transmission Company of Nigeria, has spent a total sum of around 29.3 billion naira as costs to repair 266 electricity towers damaged by vandals, natural disasters and other occurrences nationwide. The latest data obtained from the TCN has shown. The incidents that occurred between January 2022 and October 2024, a period of 34 months, have affected power availability and accessibility across the Federation. And this comes as the latest Africa Trade Barometer report has revealed that Nigeria loses some whopping $26 billion yearly to power failures. Now, according to energy experts, it cost about 110 million naira to fix each vandalized tower, and the cumulative 29.26 billion to repair the 266 towers. Now, we have joining us in the studio Mr. Sunday Oduntan, the MD/CEO Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, and also the official spokesperson for all discos. Welcome to the program, Mr. Sunday. I'm concerned, first of all, that I may not have pronounced your name correctly, but then...
No problem. My name is Oduntan.
Oduntan. Okay, I've gotten that correctly.
That's fine.
Yes, so perhaps we should start the program with your submissions on the situation that we see persist in several states in northern Nigeria. Talk about the blackout. What's your submission?
Okay. Yes, it is true that sometimes ago, a couple of weeks ago, and over time, there has been a collapse of the national grid. The last one that occurred was about 2 weeks ago when a transformer exploded in Jeba. But the blackout in the northern Nigeria right now, although some states' electricity has been restored, but the blackout was not caused by the incompetence or problem with TCN, with transmission, or any segment of the power sector. It was caused by an act of, in my opinion, terrorism. It was the vandalism of the towers, which I believe is a major security issue. So we cannot blame the Transmission Company of Nigeria for what has happened. And this is something that occurs, there was a time it happened in Nasarawa, even at the time it happened in Ogun capital in Abeokuta. So when those towers are vandalized, it is certain that there will be blackout. But when there's blackout, people tend to want to blame government, to want to blame TCN, blame discos, blame generation companies. You can't be blaming us when we as a people condone criminality, because those who engage in this vandalism live amongst us. You cannot talk about banditry or vandalism or even terrorism without knowing the fact that they didn't just drop from heaven and they don't go to heaven immediately. They vandalize those equipment. In some states in the north, these people are there. What are we doing about it? What happened to drones? What happened to the security agencies? What is their job? Who is supposed to do what? If we know that we are not capable of securing our infrastructure, then we may now have to surrender part of our sovereignty by calling on some foreign countries to come and help us.
But that is like, Mr. Oduntan, I've had conversations where some have likened the amount of vandalism and sabotage in the power sector to that of, say, the oil sector. Talk about bunkering. But then, are there quick steps or quick fixes? And if they are not, what are some of the ways that the federal government can prevent some of this vandalism?
Okay. I know that the Federal Ministry of Power and, of course, TCN, our regulator, and all stakeholders are trying their best to ensure that once there is a blackout, there's a need to restore power. But in the case of what is going on in the north, this cannot be done without the active support and participation of our security agencies. Because if they vandalize the tower and you cannot even reach the place, you cannot get to the place without being killed, that means that you're going there to do any restoration. You need backup from the military. You need the place to be cleared. That's why I mentioned the issue of drone. I think technology has gotten to a point that when people tell me that there are these criminals in the bush, somebody just mentioned Niger State and said, yeah, there are so many criminals. We have them in Benue in the bush, in Niger in the bush, in Castina, okay. Those people, they do not live underground. They are somewhere. We should get to a point where we can deploy technology to ensure that we get to them. Because until we clear those areas where the vandalism takes place, there's nothing that the Ministry of Power, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, there's nothing that they can do. We cannot continue to blame TCN when obviously what has happened is an act of vandalism. That's the way I look at it.
All right. Now, thankfully, I mean, we've seen partial restoration of yes. Grid power to several states across the north that were affected, but we cannot take away the fact that the damages have been done and the losses have been incurred. But then, by and large, we heard from our reporters, we heard from the Bureau Chief in Borno, we heard from Abdullahi in Yola, Adamawa State, and Abdullahi specifically painted a picture of restoration, but across what he described as the hotlines for those who have been taken as priority. Now, bearing in mind that a lot of business owners who do small and medium enterprise businesses may not be, on this hotline. Are there ways, because I mean, you're in the distribution part of the chain, to ensure that they have access to more power? Or perhaps would we be seeing situations where Nigerians are forced to source for alternative power generating sources?
Now, as distributors, it is in my interest for all my customers to have light. Remember, if I don't give them light, there's no way I can collect money from them. Take one of our members, for example, Just Electricity Division Company. They've been working very hard over time to provide fantastic service to their customers in Plateau, Gombe, Bauchi, and Benue states. But with this problem, it's going to affect them a lot because they have to pay upstream to the market. And if they cannot collect, how can they pay? So we are not looking at supplying hotlines, as you call it, or priority areas. For there's nothing like priority areas. Where you see restoration are areas that can easily, because when there's problem, we have to look at the low-hanging fruits, the areas that if there's a problem in Abuja and I cannot access Apo district, for instance, but I can access Utako. So why not restore light in Utako while you are waiting for security agencies to clear the way to Apo? Then I can move to Apo. That's what is going on. It is not a discriminatory restoration. In fact, we should commend TCN, we should commend the Honorable Minister of Power for taking this bold step to ensure that the embarrassing blackout is taken care of. However, we still have a lot of work to do as a nation. You see, the blackout occurred all over many northern states, partly because of the nature of our national grid.
Tell us about it.
Okay, the Nigerian transmission grid is radial in nature. That is to say, it goes straight. In other countries, there should be a loop. So say, for instance, Just Electricity Division Company, their headquarters is in Jos, Plateau State. If there is a problem in Bauchi or Gombe, the Transmission Company of Nigeria can isolate that place and they will still be able to supply electricity to Benue, go across Nasarawa.
So a large portion of the grid isn't affected.
So our inability to isolate problematic area by the use of technology is part of the problem that we have had over the years. But it's not a problem that started today. This has been an issue for over 50 years. You cannot solve the adversity of 50 years in 1 year.
True.
And whatever you failed to do in 1984, we catch up with you in 2024. But that is not to say that we should continue this this attitude of blaming people all the time. We should be talking about solution. We should be looking forward to giving this country better electricity. We can only do that by working together, alignment, cooperation, and ensuring that everybody are brought together, that we all play our parts. So if the producer, which is generation company, is able to generate electricity, is able to get enough funds to pay the gas supplier in the case of the thermal power plants, and then the transmission company, as the transporter of electricity, is able to wheel the power from the generation company to us in the distribution companies, and for we distribution companies too, once the power is wheeled to us, we should be able to distribute it across our network. Any failure along that value chain will affect the whole of the value chain. So in other words, all of us need to work together.
Indeed. Now, talk about failure in any of the value chain affecting the entire value chain. So generating companies or gencos, according to a recent statistics, generate somewhere around 11,000 megawatts of electricity. I'm not sure of what the figure, that's now, this is in quotes, of course, this is in quotes. It's good that you're here.
I'm not sure they told you that. In fairness to them, don't let us misquote them. No generation company can stand up here or there and say they are generating. What they will tell you is that they have an installed capacity.
Great. It's good to set the record
that's the technical word. I can explain what that
means. Now, let's now go to
there's nothing like generating 11,000 in Nigeria.
They would say the generating companies are generating so much and their lapses may not be seen at this point, probably because there are more challenges with the transmission. So how has this lapses or shortfalls, do I put it, in these two parts of the chain affecting your work as distribution?
Whatever lapses, as you call it, happens along the value chain affect us. But let me say something about the Nigerian power sector. Generation, transmission, and distribution. We are siblings. We live together in the same house, in the dormitory, like in an hostel. In the dormitory, different rooms, but same house. And we have a very tough, credible housemaster, which is called NEC. That is the regulator. You know, when you're in an hostel, if you live in an hostel in Sunday school, your housemaster is the one that ensures you do the right thing, what time to wake up, when to go to bed, when to read, when to go to the dining hall, and so on and so forth. And the Federal Minister of Power, under the leadership of whoever is the Federal Minister of Power, at every point, is our mother. I'm not going to talk about our father. I'm not sure whether we know our father or not, but when you talk about parentage, it is certain for you to easily know who your mother is. Your mother will now tell you who your father is. Now, because we are siblings, whatever happened to my sibling also affects me. So there's no point in me talking rubbish about my sibling. What we need to do is for us in the house, 3 siblings of the same mother, to call ourselves and say, you are supposed to clean the plate. If the plate is not clean, the other sibling has cooked the food. How can he serve the food? How can we eat? So it's a question of all of us trying to ensure that we do the right thing. Remember, Nigerians deserve the best. They also have a part to play.
Indeed.
So when people talk about power sector, we just go on blaming the operator. We go on blaming government.
These things.
The Nigerian people themselves are known to be stealing energy to the tune of billions every month. Not annually, monthly. And the level of theft is so high that even when you provide 15,000 megawatts, you may not be able to collect money of up to 7,000 megawatts.
So over 50%?
Yes, as long as we continue with that, it will be difficult for us to have enough electricity.
But do you think that this issue perhaps could be resolved? Because, I mean, maybe we could start by you giving us an update on the situation pertaining to metering Nigerians and Nigerian homes. Some of them would complain that they are being charged on an estimated billing basis, which is astronomical in the words of a lot of them. But then again, let's also talk about the issue of Nigerians doing their part. I mean, just recently, we heard from Abdullahi when he mentioned that in Adamawa State, because the power was not there for a few days, we saw situations of miscreants going into this power generating sets or perhaps transformers across different parts of communities, vandalizing them and stealing, cables. So maybe you can tell us about why Nigerians need to do more and also give an update on the metering situation.
Let me start with the blackout. The blackout across the north has affected a lot of our equipment in the distribution end of the value chain. Just Disco has suffered a lot of losses. Same thing with Kaduna Disco, same thing with Kano Disco and Yola. Once they take off lights, vandals go to work. We've seen that happen. In fact, in 2018, I witnessed that in Kano myself and in Jigawa. I spent 1 week in Kano and we were going around. Once there's no light, you find them going to work to vandalize equipment. But again, that speaks to our justice system, our criminal justice system. In Nigeria, to get justice takes a very long time, either because we don't have enough judges, or because we are not efficient enough, or because of we lawyers. I'm a lawyer. We lawyers are also a major problem of Nigeria. Lawyers will find technical way to allow criminals to escape justice. And because people escape justice, and whether you talk about major crimes or minor crimes, or financial crimes. How many big men have gone to jail since 1999? How many governors in this country since 1999 you can vouch for that were honest throughout their tenure? Or ministers of the Federal Republic? And if you go and check your records, you'll find out that even some former ministers of power were arrested and arraigned in court. But they are still free out there. The wheel of justice in Nigeria is very slow, although in some cases we get justice. In many cases, it can go on forever. You can't be prosecuting somebody for 13 years and you want to tell me that that is justice. Where is that justice? And the problem is, number one, with our lawyers, my colleagues, my learned colleagues, especially the learned six, the senior lawyers. Because people just go on finding technicalities all because of the money you want to collect from your client. They won't like what I'm saying, but let's say the truth to power. All of us need to understand where that problem is coming from. Because when they catch vandals, what happened to them? If we have been able to create mobile courts in every state of this federation, once you are caught bypassing your meter, once you are caught vandalizing transformers, stealing cables, take them inside that mobile court, which is going to be in form of a truck, like a bus. Let it be in a marketplace. If you take people to Wuse Market or Jabi Park, and then you try them, and then you give judgment if they are guilty,
right there,
and then ask them to be sweeping the market.
Community service.
Imagine asking a general manager of a company, or a senior person, or a senior civil servant, or a permanent secretary
to do community service.
To be sweeping market in Wuse Market, broad daylight, and press people are taking pictures. He will never do that again. His colleague will begin to be afraid. But what happened in Nigeria is we have selective justice. Yeah. And that's why you hear that one individual was sent to prison and allegations were made that the person was not actually sleeping inside prison. But that is not the issue here. But the point I'm making is that when you talk about metering is important. Effort has been made over time to meter our customers. There have been different policies of meter. Right now, I'm not absorbing discourse, but I'm saying that people need to understand the fact. Discos are not the one in charge of metering. What discos do is that our regulator, they are external third party that are licensed to supply meters. And even meter come at a cost. So that's why you see that people pay for their meters. Now, talking about energy theft, it is not the lack of metering that's the cause of energy theft. If anything, those who have meters bypass it a lot. There are a lot of cases of meter bypass. In fact, it is even more difficult for us because those who have meters, when they bypass their meters, unless and until we know people on the same transformer in the same neighborhood who are on estimated billing often pay for the thief next door neighbor. But again, right now, a lot of work has been done by NEC, our regulator, and we must commend them. Because in Nigeria, we always like to blame people. Somebody has to take the blame. Efforts have been made. Right now, I can confirm that meters are available. Those who do not have meters should take the opportunity of MAP, meter asset provider, and then they should go and obtain their meter so that they can be able to measure their consumption. And I need to make this last point that those who are meters, our customers that are metered, manage energy more than those who are not metered. Those who are on estimated billing, they just put on the light anytime, even outside in the afternoon, believing that whether I put it on or not, I'll still pay the same amount. So it is not in the interest of the discourse for Nigerians not to be metered. It is not in the interest of our customers for them not to be metered, because they also need to be able to measure their consumption. When people are metered, there is less argument. When people are not metered, you hear crazy billings. Some bills are crazy, but sometimes it is the user of the bill that is crazy. I'm sorry, it's not all bills that are crazy bills.
I like the no-holds-barred conversation we're having this morning. But then again, Barrister Sunday Oduntan, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Barrister Sunday is the MD/CEO, Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, and also the official spokesperson for all of the discourse. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we'll have you again to talk about more issues, especially how the power sector can be improved.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. So viewers, I mean, it's been a lovely discussion. But of course, a lot of things brought to the fore. But then again, we go on a break now. And when we return, it will be time to review the front pages of select national dailies. Do stay with us.